had a fan write in, really interesting question about what goes on between the negotiations between a sanctioning body like NASCAR and a track like Charlotte Motor Speedway or New Hampshire or wherever. I can tell you in the old days when I was running Charlotte and Bill France Jr. was running NASCAR, those sanctioning meetings sometime went on forever. I remember one that went on for 9 hours because I didn't like some things they were doing and he didn't like some things that we were doing. So we went back and forth and back and forth. And folks, it got to be a kidney match. Who would go to the bathroom first? Who would yield to that? And I was determined not to drink anything. And I knew he wasn't drinking anything, and I knew he wanted a cup of black coffee worse than anything in the world. But he wouldn't do it. We sat there for 9 hours. Now, I had a son trip then, and Bruton Smith's son, Scotty, they were like 10 years old, and I left them in the Hilton in Daytona. Let me tell you what happened when I got back there. The room was pillaged, and I saw boxes all over the place. Those two boys had eaten 4 entire key lime pies that they ordered from the restaurant down below. And they looked sick. They looked like a piece of lime. And I told Bill France later, I said, "You caused me terrible, terrible problem." "What do you mean?" I said, "That long session that we had cost me a bunch of money and 2 sick kids when I got home." "What do you mean?" I told him about the key lime pies. He just laughed like the dickens. And so 2 days later, I got a key lime pie in the mail. And I looked at it and I said, "There's no way I'm touching this. That makes me sick." I haven't eaten one since, even though they are good. What really goes on in these meetings is first of all, you argue about the purse. NASCAR always has the purse high. You want it, you got to make money. You want it a reasonable amount, so you got to go through all that. Then you start arguing about what you're going to do at the track, what NASCAR wants you to do at the track. For instance, what do they want you to do at the track? It might be the pit road is not long enough. You don't have enough room for all the cars. They may want more space in there. They may want you to put more safety barriers in. It's all the things involved in competition. And it could be the hospital. Although we never had a problem with the hospital at Charlotte because we think we pioneered a lot of improvements through the wonderful guidance and leadership of Dr. Jerry Petty, who's the best track doctor that ever was. And so we never had a problem with that, but a lot of tracks did. And I went in a track one time and the doctor was a urologist. Nothing wrong with urologists, you gotta have them and they're great. But it's not the place for the head doctor in a trauma center at a speedway where your principal injuries are not in the rear end, but in your head. That's the thing I worry about more than anything else. That's why we got Dr. Petty. So you got a lot of that stuff going on, and NASCAR's trying to look out for the drivers. They're trying to look at purse-wise for them. They're trying to look out for this, that, and the other thing. What the track operator's doing is trying to save money. Now, a lot of this has gone away because you don't have the individual promoters you used to have, like Clay Earls at Martinsville, Paul Sawyer at Richmond, people like that, myself, etc., that were fighting for every tooth and nail with NASCAR. Now it's corporate. You got Speedway Motorsports, my old company, which has got about 10 or 11 events. And then you have every one of the rest of the events except the 2 at Dover and the 2 at Pocono are controlled by International Speedway and the France family. I don't know how they do sanctioning agreements. I don't know if they talk to themselves or they sit down and have a suggestion box, but somehow or another they work it out. They try to be fair about it, I will say that. And that is make sure that whatever International Speedway does, they're going to be right in line with what Speedway Motorsports is. But there's a lot of give and take in there, and a lot of good negotiations. The only negotiations that I had that were tougher than NASCAR's was dealing with the networks when we had our own TV rights. The network people are absolutely fabulous negotiators and as tough as nails. And I always enjoyed dealing with them. It was a challenge. And sometimes, like I said before, NASCAR was a challenge. It's not like it used to be, unfortunately. And because Claros would call me after he went through his sanctioning deal and tell me about this, that, and the other thing. I just laughed like the dickens because he was a tough old bird, and so did Paul Sawyer. I loved talking to him after a NASCAR meeting. And so it was fun. In a way, it was a challenge, even though sometimes you get a little hostile environment. But sanctioning agreements are tough, and negotiations are tough, and it's an interesting time for a track operator.